You're listening to the Listenup Show, Startup Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Mitchell Chadrow, your host. Today on Show 040. Today, we're here with James A. McCormick IV, NFL Sports Entertainment Talent Advisor and Commercial Real Estate Agent. What are we going to talk to James about today? Commercial real estate, his deep ties to the sports and entertainment industry as a league executive in the NFL, the National Football League, his experience as a director of all player and talent marketing initiatives for the league, his time at NFL Films, his days at Valley Forge Military College. Listen up, trusted friends. It's your business, it's your family, it's your life. Now let's get started.
I'm one of these guys who I'm constantly looking ahead, looking forward. My favorite deal is my next deal. And so I look at it whereas there's too much to do to look back. There's so much that I want to do. And so I try to take every single day and squeeze everything out of it.
James, it's great to finally connect with you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mitchell. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. I'm really looking forward to it. Tell me about your involvement with the infamous Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl run in 2003.
Well, I had an opportunity to work for the Eagles essentially through a friend and also at the time who I was working for, a guy by the name of Troy Vincent, who was also one of the great Eagles. And he had a financial firm in New Jersey, where I'm from. And long story short, I ended up working for him, and we got pretty close personally. I learned a lot from him. And he basically took me under his wing. And through him, I was able to meet a lot of key individuals and be around a lot of great people, both on and off the field. And the opportunity arose for me to work in public relations for the team, and it just so happened to be around the time when they were making their infamous Super Bowl run.
But that was the year that the Eagles had Brian Westbrook and Donovan McNabb and Deuce Staley and Dawkins and David Akers. Tell me a little bit about some of the lessons that you learned from your experience with the Eagles in that year, because it's quite a remarkable story that they actually were going for their third straight NFC championship that year. Of course, they lost Carolina Panthers, as we all know.
Right. I joke around. I used to joke with them and saying that I was good luck because until I showed up, they didn't get past the conference championship game. But before I answer that question, I should probably backtrack because, and actually it might answer your question, but I guess the thing I would say is to be prepared because when I was working for Troy Vincent, at the time, I actually rose to the ranks and became on the executive side of the business development, and I actually left that position to intern for free at the time for NFL Films in South Jersey, which was pretty much unheard of, especially for a 26-year-old to leave a paid position. Your career is growing, and then suddenly you want to switch gears, and by the way, you're going to go and be an intern. So it was kind of unorthodox, but it was something that I thought I needed to do, and I followed my passion. I was able to see a lot of opportunities through Troy and also, several other members, which I should mention. The company that I worked for was also partially owned by now Hall of Famer Chris Carter, as well as the other cornerback, Bobby Taylor. And so to leave that position and then intern for free was very unconventional, but I believed in myself. One thing led to another, and that's how I landed with the Philadelphia Eagles. So to answer your question, I would say just being prepared and be ready for the opportunity when it's unexpected, which is exactly what happened.
Please sign up to my email list for the latest special offers exclusive for our Listen Up Show Startup Entrepreneur Podcast audience at mitchellchadrow.com/sign-up. I have been providing business advice, resources, and help to entrepreneurs for over 20 years, and I'm looking forward to helping all of you. Sign up for my email list, again, at mitchellchadrow.com/sign-up. I will provide you with full transcript for each interview, my ebook, 30 Tools to Start Up, the Startup Checklist, and many other education and training materials, all back at mitchellchadrow.com/sign-up. Now enjoy the show. Well, tell us a little bit about your time with NFL Films, because you talk about preparedness, you talk about be ready for the opportunity. How did you put yourself in the proper place to meet those gentlemen and to be able to be offered, even though it was for free, this particular great opportunity that sort of presented itself to you?
Well, the other key that I would mention is something that I tell people all the time, and that is to try your best to over-deliver. And so that's kind of what gave me the confidence to go into that internship. And when I was there, using that phrase over-deliver, I was there. I basically functioned and operated as if I was a full staff employee, and that gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of people who otherwise I probably wouldn't have met. And the Eagles actually came calling to me and offered me the opportunity very unexpectedly. In fact, it was in the middle of the internship. So, again, it was kind of like the second lesson for me to just be ready to go. And true enough, within 2 days of getting the phone call from them, I was in Eagles training camp. But NFL Films was tremendous because it gave me a taste at the time of the production side of the NFL. And then, obviously, after I left the Eagles, I ended up going back to NFL Films for quite a while, working in player relations. So, but to answer your question, over-delivering is really something that has helped me throughout my entire career, certainly at that point in my life as well.
So would you say then that that's really what has contributed most to your success to date?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Being prepared, staying ready, and then when the opportunity comes, not just seizing the moment, but over-delivering to the point where you inevitably get more opportunities to showcase your skills and your information and your knowledge. So absolutely.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit more about what you actually were doing specifically for NFL Films and some of the people and the key players that you met while you were there.
So NFL Films is looked upon in the industry as the preeminent production company, not just in sports, but across all of entertainment. And so I had an opportunity to work under Steve Sable, who has unfortunately passed away, but and he actually took me under his wing. And I was actually initially working in player relations, which meant out of all the productions that they produce for several networks, I was one of two individuals to execute the talent, which means getting the players, current and former, involved into all of the shows that we produce. So I basically worked in conjunction with over 80 producers, about a dozen networks, including CBS, ESPN, HBO, of course, NFL Network. And so my responsibility was to not only make contact with the players, which actually is a science in and of itself, but to build relationships to where there's a trust level, and that they understood that we had their best interests in mind. And that was something that I took to heart and was very careful with those relationships. And also being very responsible in terms of representing the networks that we were in business with, because ultimately that's what the public's going to see. And so they had to have a certain trust level as well in what we did. So I took it very seriously, and it really paid off.
You said that the people that actually started the NFL Films, how did you actually break in, though? I mean, obviously you had to be at the right place at the right time, or you knew somebody, or a door opened up for you. How did you get discovered? Not only as the intern, but then who helped you sort of get a position when you decided to go back after the internship?
Well, initially, Troy Vincent, who I always give credit to, who's actually currently the Executive Vice President of Football Operations for the league, was very instrumental in terms of getting me the internship at NFL Films. And at that point, it was really a series of just relationships and creating my own network. Once I had the internship, I basically didn't turn anything down, and I put myself in positions purposely so that I could meet more people. I've always been a relationship guy, so I felt like the more people that I could bring value to, the more people would be aware of who I was, number one, but also what I was capable of. And so to answer your question specifically, at NFL Films, I actually got an opportunity with the Eagles only because At the time, we had to run tape back and forth to the NovaCare complex to and from NFL Films. And through that, not only did I perform that task, but I was also very strategic in terms of making sure I understood who I was delivering it to, what they did, making sure they knew who I was and what my aspirations was. And that's really where I started to let people know who I was and what I wanted to do.
A lot of hustle and a lot of relationship building, and it's a great skill set to have. Have you ever heard of a company called HostGator?
I have, yeah.
One of my affiliates is actually HostGator. For those people who are obviously wanting to have web hosting, they can actually go to HostGator. HostGator sponsors our startup round. For all your hosting needs, head on over to mitchellchadro.com/hosting. Again, that's HostGator. Head on over to mitchellchadro.com/hosting for all your web hosting needs. Tell us a little bit about you mentioned something about the digital enterprise, or
yes. So I've always had a passion for style and also culture.
You haven't picked a website name, or you're just in the process of that?
I have a website name. I was actually contacted by a brand architect in Chicago who is basically helping me develop the website platform, which will in effect be a digital magazine style. And I'm really thankful to them for their support and their interest in what I'm doing. And so they're going to be basically creating an entire platform for me digitally, including the website, as well as giving me the capabilities in my men's lifestyle brand, which is a digital enterprise. And so the funny thing about leaving the NFL was I discovered a lot of things about myself that I wasn't aware of. In fact, my love of cooking, my love of photography, my love of reading, exercising. And so I kind of combined some of those aspects and created a brand called Stopperfly Society, which actually has historical roots in the Congo. And long story short, it's basically a lifestyle brand geared towards what I would call the well-informed gentleman who appreciates style, craftsmanship, design, art, music, travel, and I tried to put all those things together and create a destination for that person or that type of person to come and be informed upon where to go, where to eat, what to do, and how they can basically elevate their taste level. And
do you have a website for this?
I actually am in the process of doing that now, but we have a social media presence on Instagram as well as Facebook. And so the following and the feedback that I've gotten since creating it has been through the roof. I've had brands that contacted me and interested in working with me, and I've had a couple publications who reached out as well. So I'm excited for what's ahead in the future. We have an e-commerce division coming up, as well as a media side of the house, where I'll be doing interviews like you are with me, with people in and out of the spotlight who have an appreciation for style and culture. And it's
that's very exciting. In essence, this will be your own. You're not going to be working in conjunction with your current company. And I guess they're perfectly fine with the fact that one of the things when we talk to young entrepreneurs, they sometimes are working full time in someone else's business, but they want to sort of start something up on the side. I guess that conversation has been broached by your current person that you're working for, so to speak. I mean, in terms of being able to balance that as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that I was referencing earlier. Is I'm just blessed to be part of a great team and a great office. They're aware of what I do, and the good thing about it, I use the term lifestyle and digital because it is purely digital, and it is also it's not something I have to be at per se. But it's really a matter of a function of me living. And so a lot of the things that I do in terms of building it, it's very heavy on photography, is done either on my own personal time or through the course of life. And so it doesn't interfere with anything. In fact, it actually complements what I do in real estate, specifically on the investment side, because I find myself in a lot of situations socially and also professionally, whether it's the golf course, a wine bar, a restaurant, traveling, and they all kind of blend together. And so that's kind of what I was saying before about how. And so how are you? And you'll give me the name of the company again that you're going to form, or that's already in the process. But in terms of how you're going to actually make money, so what's the business concept there in terms of how you're going to make it a go, so to speak? So there's two sides of it, the media side and the e-commerce/merchandise side. On the media side, there's an ad subscription model. There's an ad model and the ad advertising revenue model, and also there's a membership subscription model. That's number one, and that's a big part of why we're currently building the following and building those, getting those eyeballs. And
have you already tested it? I mean, has there been people to come forward and do you have a number of people that are already actively, interested in this and have either subscribed or, have kind of reached out to you regarding it?
Absolutely. And that's probably what drove me to continue down this road in terms of making it a formal situation. I've had a spirits company contact me. I've had apparel companies contact me. And that's really what told me that, there's an audience for this. They really enjoy what I'm doing. It's authentic. It's not just one or the other. It's actually rooted historically in, like I said, the Congo, as well as the merchandise side is really an interesting dynamic because it'll be a lot of collaboration with brands as well as me collaborating with them to create limited items that are going to be able to be sold and bought. So that's really, those are the two main as far as a business model.
What's been, though, your best business advice that you've ever received?
I would say probably something that I mentioned already, which is to over-deliver. That, to me, is paramount to anything that I've done, and I think it's important for anyone in any line of work to not just meet the requirement, but to surpass it to the point where they can't live without you. And that's really what I tried to do at NFL Films, at the Eagles, in every line of work that I've ever been involved in, is to make myself to be indispensable and invaluable. So especially as an intern, I mean, there's a lot of things that, you could or couldn't do, and I just basically wanted to outwork everyone. And so there's a term that I kind of coined saying outwork the work. In other words, all the things that you have to do, you have to be the last person standing.
We've talked a little bit about NFL Films. We've talked about your internship there first, and then, of course, your involvement with the Eagles, and then going back to the NFL Films. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your personal story earlier on. In other words, your beginnings, your foundation. Who did you admire? Who did you look up to? And how did you build your character from a very early age?
There's two people in particular that are extremely special to me and will always will be, and that's, first of all, my father. I'm James the Fourth. He's James the Third. And seeing him on a daily basis, he worked at General Motors, and his work ethic was just unmatched. I mean, he never took a vacation, never called in sick, and just to watch how he approached his job to take care of his family was just very noticeable to me at a very young age. Actually, I should say three people. My mom is the other person. They both worked at General Motors, and in a different way, she was the same.
Is that where they met?
No, they're actually from the same hometown.
Okay.
Families knew each other way back then, but
sure.
Ironically, they ended up working at the same place. But
wow.
They both just demonstrated a tremendous work ethic. My mom was very adamant about academics and education, and they both put us in the best position possible, myself and my brother, to succeed, both academically, spiritually, and also in the community. So those two. And the last person is my grandfather, who's passed away, but just a man.
What was his name?
His first name is Lawrence, and he was just, when you say a gentleman, he was the epitome of a gentleman. And so those three people in particular were extremely instrumental and influential on me.
It's always interesting who helps shape us, our values and our morals and our character. And I did notice from your bio, not only are you married and you have a daughter, but, I think you said God first and you're involved in the church. And so, business is extremely important, but those other aspects of your life are extremely important as well. And so I wanted to be able to ask you about that as well, if you could comment on that.
As far as spiritually or church?
Yes, correct. Yes.
So it's been a part of my whole family, ever since I was young. Both my grandparents, on both sides of my family, they were all involved in the church. My grandfather, who I mentioned, was deacon of the board. My grandmother was deaconess of the board. I believe they were, if not the founders, part of the founding members. My mom and I went and my brother went to church in North Philadelphia at the old Connie Mack Stadium.
Wow.
So we would drive an hour to go to church. 16,000 members. I was very active in terms of the music band, played the alto saxophone. And so that was basically how I grew up. It was always a huge part of my life, my upbringing. In fact, I joke around. I was also a basketball player, but I was always very versatile in terms of my interests academically, musically, athletically. So I was kind of a young Renaissance man, even as a child.
Yeah, and so the music, the church, and of course your family background all helped shape, develop you into the person that you are today.
Yes, absolutely. It's extremely important to me. So
that's great. What do you know about the lean startup? You know, a lot of the audience, startup entrepreneurs, and they're looking for resources and a way to build on a business. And we're going to get into your commercial real estate business that you're involved with today. But can you talk to us a little bit about your familiarity with the lean startup, working with startup business owners in that regard?
I'm not entirely familiar with the lean startup. I'm aware of it. I've heard it many times. Something that obviously interests me immediately, just hearing the name, something that I'm passionate about. I have worked with a lot of startup companies, both here or what I do today, and just over the course of my years in business. But it is something that I would like to learn a little bit more about because it's something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, no, certainly. So tell us a little bit about your career with commercial real estate and what you're actually doing today.
So I transitioned into commercial real estate, which the ironic thing is I've actually been licensed for 15 years.
Okay.
Going back to when I was with the league, I actually worked for a international developer who I was fortunate enough to create a great relationship with, and he sent me to school to get my license. And I was very involved with the players from a financial and a business standpoint, and so a lot of them, I believe Donovan McNabb was one of them, who encouraged me to do something with players, whether on the agency side or marketing. And so, long story short, after I left NFL Films, I worked for the league office in New York in entertainment marketing, and that's really where I started to understand that I could bring a lot of value to not just players, but anyone in the professional world. And I started to think about what my next step was going to be professionally. And my daughter was born, and honestly, it just got to the point where I needed to use a different side of my brain, and I needed more time for family. And that's when I made the decision to go right into real estate full time. And commercial in particular is actually a very seamless transition, believe it or not, to what I used to do, because ultimately what I do is bring value to my clients. I work in investment brokerage, so I work with a lot of individuals who are looking to place their money in the real estate market, and they need advising. And so that's where I come in to locate and identify opportunities and advise them from a real estate investment standpoint.
Now, is your niche working with, professional players, or do you have a specific, marketing plan in terms of, your niche or how you approach things from a marketing commercial real estate perspective?
Well, the players, the professional athletes are certainly something that I'm very equipped to handle just based on my background. It's not entirely what I do day to day, only in that I enjoy working with all types of entrepreneurs, business owners, retired executives, and I would say that my niche was probably be, executive level type individuals who are literally looking to invest in one way, shape, or form in real estate, in commercial real estate, whether it's players or not. But I'm definitely equipped and certainly have some unique opportunities because of that. In fact, one of the things that I'm going to be rolling out hopefully sometime in 2017 is an investment plan for individuals in the entertainment space as well as in the sports world, to give them another option besides what they have currently in terms of what they're going to do post-career.
Now, will this be your own startup, or will this be in conjunction with the person that's running your commercial real estate firm today?
It'll be entirely through my current space now, which is Sperry Van Ness Commercial Real Estate. It will be something we do with it in-house. Obviously, I'll have a huge imprint on that just based on my background, but it'll be something we do here as part.
And who will help you with those resources to sort of get you started up, and what will it take to sort of take it to the next level in terms of what you need to do in order to start to build in that area?
So fortunately, I work with a great team here at Sperry Van Ness, in particular our principal and also my close friend, Chichi Ahia. We work together day to day, and so I would say it would be a joint effort in terms of how we roll that out. Certainly, I'll be leaned upon heavily for not only contacts and relationships, but also an approach to that industry and how to get their attention, how to position ourselves. That'll be something that I'll certainly, take the lead on, but it will be a team effort in conjunction with him and, all of our resources here at Sperry Van Ness to approach the opportunity.
Audible, an Amazon company, sponsors our Fast Pitch, my book club recommendations, back at mitchellchadro.com/audible. And I recently saw on LinkedIn that you had just read again or finished The Art of the Deal, and I know that you had just most recently read Bill Belichick's book, Education of a Coach. And you talk about, obsessive preparation and attention to detail. Had you also read that 10X rule book as well?
Oh, absolutely. That was amazing.
Yeah, because that book was written by Grant Cardone. To see more of my recommendations and recommendations of our guests, just go to mitchellchadro.com/audible. It's your number one resource for book reviews and recommendations. In our fast pitch round, we ask a lot of fast questions, and one of the questions is, we ask about a book that those can recommend.
I'm actually at a point where I'm trying to read a book a week if possible, which is ambitious. But
can you give the audience another book recommendation? I mean, again, it can be in business, family, or life.
I liked the idea of, I liked the book Outlier by, I believe, Malcolm Gladwell, mainly because I consider myself to be an outlier, literally, not someone who's conventional in any way. I sort of follow my own path. It's always worked for me, and just not being afraid to be different and go against the norm, if you will, in terms of how you approach business and sometimes even life. That's always been something that I have been comfortable with doing, fortunately, and something that I try to encourage because I've been speaking recently to kids and universities, and that's something that I really try to remind them of and encourage them to do, is to be an individual, find your voice, find your gifts and talents, and try to put yourself in a situation to maximize your capabilities. So that's a message that I try to drive home as much as possible.
How do you balance, business work and your family and just life in general? Because, there's only so many hours in the day, and you've got to be able to try to make it balanced.
Yeah, so live your legacy is something that I kind of stream of consciousness one day, and I sort of ran with it. But it fits kind of my day-to-day mentality, and I think my family and business, I try to keep as much as I can along the same stream, if that makes sense, in terms of, my lifestyle personally, and also making it seamless to my business life, so that I'm never too far away from either lane, so to speak. A perfect example is, in addition to commercial real estate, I created a men's lifestyle brand recently that has completely taken off, and I'm really excited about what I'm doing with that. But even with that, it's really not another job per se, because it's really consistent with my day-to-day life. And so live your legacy to me means taking every opportunity on every day to imprint on the world who you are and your voice, so that one day if you're not here, that you are remembered. And so the deals that I get involved in, the things that I try to do things that are landmark opportunities that are going to be memorable, not just for me, but to have an impression and an impact on the larger world. And so I have a global perspective in general, and living your legacy is something that is kind of a reminder for me to try to go big, and not be afraid to swing for the fences.
How about a fun fact about you that maybe not a lot of people know about, but would give us a different perspective on you?
A fun fact. My first job was a cart boy at a supermarket, actually in New Jersey.
Okay.
And actually, in recent years, I actually remember there was a guy in particular, I'll never forget it. He had a Porsche Carrera, and I was in love with this Porsche. And I said, one day I'm going to get a Porsche, or I'm going to meet this guy. And I never met him when I was working, but actually my first real estate deal was with him. He was the attorney.
Wow.
So that's a small world and kind of an ironic situation, but that was.
So again, it's being so personable, like you are, likable. Obviously, I know that comes natural, because it's an interesting story how you and I bumped in to one another. I was with my daughter, and you couldn't have been nicer and more friendly. And I told you that I had a podcast, and my daughter said, "Dad, get his information. You'll interview him for the podcast." So and she would always say, "Have you talked to James? Have you set up the interview?" So it's that type of mindset that you have that make people want to gravitate towards you, and I'm really thankful that you came on, because I'm certainly excited about it, and I know you're doing a lot of good things. You were saying about how you're speaking to the kids and helping them, and so I think that's really wonderful. I also see here that you were involved with the Valley Forge Military College. Tell me about your days there.
I had a great time, which is not the case for some people maybe, but my mom actually, I was one of the youngest people to graduate from high school. I went to the Hun School in Princeton, which is a private school.
Sure, no, I've heard of it.
Great time there, starting from 7th grade, and for some reason she presented this opportunity and said, you're kind of young. It might be an opportunity for you to just further develop as you get into your college years. And for whatever reason, I didn't have an issue with it. I took it. I played basketball for 2 years.
Where'd you play basketball?
I was at Valley Forge Military.
Okay.
So I played there, and one of my teammates ended up going to the NFL, so that was ironic to end up in the same place in different capacities. But I had a great time. I met a lot of great people. I learned a lot about discipline, about consistency, accountability. We were up at 5 a.m., showered, shaved, and shined, as they call it, ready for chow. We'd come back and do chores, right? We were doing all that before school at 8 o'clock. So, unfortunately, my upbringing was very, it was very disciplined in general, so I didn't have a whole lot to learn in that regard, but it just kind of further solidified what's possible when you're organized, you're disciplined, and you're consistent.
It's interesting that when we first spoke and you told us about, getting an internship and how you started and how you got involved with films and now you're doing, real estate, now commercial real estate, and there's a lot of, younger professionals who are kind of thinking about, what they want to do or trying to, make their way. Do you miss the NFL films? I mean, because, there's certain skill sets that you're obviously using in commercial real estate that you also used when you were working in that regard. But do you still, obviously, it sounds as if you still have friends and people that obviously very well in the sports entertainment area. Have you ever considered going back?
I definitely have a lot of great relationships to this day in the industry, all over the industry, particularly from films, and also I also worked for the league office in New York with where the headquarters is. And so I think over the course of 15 years or so, you can't help but make great relationships. But I'm not tempted to go back at all. I mean, I'm very, very happy with what I'm doing between commercial real estate and also building.
A company called Snappa?
I have, yeah.
So I interviewed, in my show 28, I actually interviewed Christopher Gimmer, who was the founder of Snappa, who provides graphic design and photos, and so he's one of my other affiliates as well. He does a great job for those people who are obviously trying to create, beautiful photos for their their blog and for their website and for different, social media. So, just another avenue to look into, to help you in that regard. And our wrap-up round is sponsored by Snappa. For all your graphic design needs, head on over to mitchellchadro.com/Snappa. That's SNAPPA. What are three main takeaways that the audience can come away from in terms of what you would like to sort of leave them with?
I think the first thing I would say, and I know it's helped me, is to, number one, look within, spend a lot of time kind of searching yourself, your soul, and your spirit, not being afraid to, at times, isolate yourself in order to actually center yourself so that you can focus on what you are trying to do in life, personally and also professionally. I think that also leads to the vision. Being a visionary and having vision, to me, has been crucial in terms of anything that I've ever done. Knowing where I'm going is essential to what I do day to day. I think the third thing that I would say is to master the art of execution. And because a lot of people obviously have a lot of ideas and thoughts and dreams, but the key really is being able to implement those things and act upon them and execute. So I think those three things, if you can kind of master all three of them, then you'll always be in a good position no matter what you're trying to do.
And what's the best way that everyone can stay in contact with you?
You can find me on Instagram at Sauperfly Society, which is SAUPERFLY Society. That's on Instagram, as well as there's a group page on Facebook until the website's developed. And otherwise, for commercial real estate, I work for Sperry Van Ness Commercial Real Estate. And you can actually email me at james.mccormick@S as in Sam, V as in Victor, N as in Nancy.com.
And I'll have all of those links back at the show notes at mitchellchadro.com/show040. And for those who obviously sign up at the website at mitchellchadro.com/sign-up, I'll also provide a full transcript of our interview that we're doing today. In parting, is there anything else that you'd like to tell the audience that you think would be important? I'm really excited about this new launch for your new startup here. And once you have a website, I will be able to append the show notes and provide that link to everybody as well.
No, I really appreciate you, Mitchell. It was a pleasure meeting you and your daughter, like you mentioned a while back. And thank you for being patient and getting this thing together. And I love what you're doing, and I'm very honored to be on your show.
This has been really wonderful, James. I want to thank you so very much. We're really excited to find out a lot more about the launch of business and your continued success, and we'll be in touch real soon.
Thank you very much.
You take care now. Bye-bye. In closing, let me ask for my listeners' help. First, please subscribe to my email list at mitchellchadro.com/sign-up. You will get all the full interview transcripts, my ebook, 30 Tools to Start Up, where I talk about these free resources in show 006. You'll get the startup checklist, education and training materials, and other resources just by signing up at mitchellchadro.com/sign-up. Listen up, trusted friends. It's your business, it's your family, it's your life. Go out and live it. Back at mitchellchadro.com/sign-up, help me boost the rankings of the Listen Up Show, the Startup Entrepreneur Podcast, by providing a well-written review in iTunes. mitchellchadro.com/iTunes. It helps other people find the show. If you actually need instructions on how to do this, you can find that back at mitchellchadro.com/sign-up. Thank you so much for subscribing to my email list and providing a written review on iTunes. Until next time.